So, hello and welcome to the Summer Standout series. This series aims to create a month of conversation around what standout means in the accounting space, what it means, how is it relevant and important, if it is, how does it benefit a firm, has it changed over time, the meaning, and what role it needs to play in the future. So, standout can be seen as a dirty word, as well as marketing and brand. But standout is all about differentiation, and it has a place in all sectors, including accounting and bookkeeping. And the sooner the nettle is grasped, the more opportunity, the right opportunity, will come a firm's way. So from my perspective, there is a massive opportunity to build standout as a superpower. And we'll be talking a little bit about that with my guest who is joining me today, who is Eriona Bajrakurtay, and I hope I've said that right. Before we introduce her, let's say that she's owner of Majors Accounts, property developer, one of the top 50 women in accounting, and an international speaker. Thanks so much for agreeing to be on this Summer Standout series, Eriona. Give us a little bit of background about you for those who don't know you, and I can't believe that's possible.
Thank you so much for having me, Philip. Our surname was you were on the right lines. Nearly there.
It still wasn't right, was it? But we did try.
It was close. I have difficulty with it myself, so don't worry, you're forgiven. But thank you so much for having me. As you said, my name is Eriona Bajrakurtay. I am the managing director of Majors Accounts, which is a family-run accountancy practice based in Southeast London. We've been around for around 18, 19 years now. Wow, it's been a while.
Wow.
We've been through so much in terms of transition and transformation and digitalization as well with the firm. We've got a team of around 20 at the moment, client base of just under 1,000. And as you said, on the side, I am a property developer. I absolutely love it. I've been doing that since I was 20 when I started, and everyone said to me, "You don't know what you're doing, stop it, like don't do this." And after they saw what I did, they said, "Okay, maybe you've got this, carry on." And to be honest, the idea of being able to go in and imagine what something may look like and destroy it and build it to how, what's in my imagination, absolutely love that. I am also involved in a few other things which are going to come out very soon. But I can't announce exactly what they are, but super exciting. 2 new businesses later this year. And I guess also with the property development, I have just launched a business in the UK which sells pretty much everything in terms of home living products within the property development process. But I think these two together with the finance and the accounting and the property development has really helped me help other property developers or those that want to get on the ladder and they're not sure of how to. Marrying up my two passions.
That is brilliant. And I mean, one of the questions is, why do you think you stand out? And I mean, that is a stupid question, isn't it? Because you've just told me about all of these things you're doing. What do you think about standout then? Is that something that, people recognise you for? Because ultimately you have an accounting practice as well, don't you?
Yeah. I think I'd like to think that I stand out for good reasons. I think when I first started to put myself out there, I was really uncomfortable with it because I didn't know anybody, nobody knew me, and I didn't know whether what I had to say was worth anything to anybody. But it's something where it's just having that courage, and I started to just get myself out there as I got to know more and more people, and you get some of that feedback, right? So I think one thing that I think I stand out with, and I guess a lot of people have said to me, is that I have that calmness in me when I speak and with different speaking events and things like this. So I think that's one thing. But I think the other thing is it's important that my style has always been being myself. I don't want to try and be somebody else. One, because I'm really bad at it. I'm really bad at faking it. I've never been an actress or anything like that.
That's your next role.
No, you never know. But yeah, I think in this day and age, right, where there is so much out there, it's so important to stand out for your right client base. I think ever since I started to put myself out there, the type of client we get in has really been refined. Previously, at Majors Accounts, anybody who would walk through the door would say, yes, we will service you, come in, that's fine. Whatever you need, we will do it. But it kind of got out of control. You can't help absolutely everybody and do an amazing service, give an amazing service to everyone. So over time, I guess, as I've put myself out there with the interests that I have, we have attracted so many more clients that are ideal, and we can provide that perfect service because they're ideal to us. They may not be to somebody else, but for us, they are perfect. We are able to give them everything that they need. And for us, it's a lot more streamlined as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we chatted before recording, I don't know whether you can still hear me because my visual has gone a bit funny, but we were talking about clients who click with you. And I think that's the main thing, isn't it? Who clicks with you? Tell me a bit about that.
Honestly, I think that's so important. I actually had a new client meeting yesterday, and after we discussed everything, I started the meeting with, I want to know a little bit about the individual, not just their business, because I want to know what their thought process is, why they set up the business, and I can see, based on their passions, where I think I could help. So at the end of the session, this lady said to me, so it seems like you don't work with everybody. Who are the ideal clients? And I was like, perfect. I not knowingly, or it was just something that came out, I guess, within the meeting. And my answer was, I want somebody who's on the same wavelength with me. So where we understand each other, I want to be able to help someone bigger picture, longer term. And if an entrepreneur says to me, I just want to focus on how can I pay less tax? This is what I want to know. Then that's not the right person for me, because I'm more of a bigger thinker. Now, again, I said somebody who wants to focus on one thing may be perfect for somebody else. But for me, they have to be on the same wavelength, and we click that way. So, and she was exactly on the same wavelength as me. So she's perfect client. And I felt really positively about that, because I thought, yes, I can do something to help this individual and their business.
That's brilliant. So it's all about being you. It's all about being authentically you and getting yourself out there, as you said, but also attracting those people who are interested in what you're interested in.
Absolutely. I think it's important, right? Because if there is something, let's say in the industry of our clients that are in property development, for example, if there's something new that's come out, I'll probably know about it, and I'll be able to let them all know, hey guys, do you know this has come out? It's going to really help you in this way, X, Y, Z. So maybe that could help grow their portfolio, or in so many different ways. Whereas there may be another industry which I'm not as involved in, I won't be able to provide as much kind of insight into their businesses. So that's why I think it's important to be on that same trajectory.
Yeah, no, totally. And how has that changed over time, do you think, with the accounting space more generally? Do you think we are looking for more authenticity? Do you think the accountants are having to do more and think more about standout or marketing or whatever you want to call it?
I definitely think there is a lot more. We see so many over LinkedIn that are really getting their name out there. But I think it's amazing. I think it's about time that we show, one, that we are normal people as well. We're not boring. We do not just sit there and look at numbers all day long. We can have other passions and talk about business in an entrepreneurial way, not just focusing on our clients' business, but also our own. But I think in general, the industry has changed in so many ways, in that we've opened up a lot to each other. Many years ago, and before I started with anything, it was a case of I would never speak to any other practitioners or other accountants in case I would divulge industry secrets and keep them and use them and then take my clients. That's just the mindset that so many people had, right? And I think there is still a lot of that mindset, but it is really changing on a daily basis. And what's happening now is we are helping each other where we're not sure about something. We give each other that help, because at the end of the day, our clients are with us for a reason, because they want to be with us, because there's, when they join, there is something that they identified. Yep, I would like them to be my accountant, whatever reason that may be. Just because you're sharing knowledge with other accountants, it's all it's doing is bringing the profession and the industry as a whole, improving it. It's not
Yeah.
doing anything else. So it's that there's a lot more. It's a more collaborative approach than it was previously.
Yeah, and I think that's lovely, because a lot of people talk about standout, as, oh, it's loud and it's brash, and actually all you're saying is we're all different, but we need to sort of show what that difference is. And when I say different, it's like different personality, different approach. You've just got your own kind of secret sauce, if you want to call it that. And it's not about kind of muscling in and sort of taking over necessarily. It's because
Yeah.
you've talked about being collaborative, so it's much more about understanding that you've got your own superpower, as has somebody else, and you can all work together.
Absolutely. And I think with anyone new that's starting out as well, being able to show them what does it mean to actually run an accounting practice, what does the everyday look like, the good, the bad, the ugly. I think it's so important, and it helps other people to have an idea before they start, okay, this is what I've got to expect. And I think a lot of people resonate with that as well. And you're helping people along the way. I say, even if there's one person that finds some kind of relevance or something within what I put out there and it helps them, then that's amazing. So
Yeah.
I would have loved it at the time when I started to have had someone like that to look up to. And to be honest, the way that I changed my business when I took over to where it is now, it was from learning from those standout accountants. Going
Yeah.
to the initial kind of shows like QuickBooks Connect, Accountex, and so on. If it wasn't for those people that were speaking there, I would not have known where to start, what to do, because that changed everything. How we work with clients, our pricing, our everything within the business. I did it just from listening to these standout accountants. So it
Yeah.
have made a huge difference to my business. So I'd
Yeah.
love.
What do you think it was that made them stand out? I mean, I'm thinking about, I mean, I'm talking to James Ashford next week, and I think he's obviously been massive in the industry, and I think that's because he turns everything around, doesn't he? He's always like, think about your customers rather than yourself, and he has a really different kind of outlook. I mean, who what has made people stand out, do you think?
Actually, James Ashford was one of those that I first went to his session, and I was just like, wow, I didn't think, why am I not doing this? But I think it's that willingness to be open and vulnerable. Obviously, James was not an accountant, but the way that he made you think of pricing and actually realize that you are running a business as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't until his session that I stopped to think, hold on, we are a business just like our clients are. Why am I only focusing on them as well? But making them, I need to show them that what we're doing as a business is profitable. And if we're profitable, we're able to help them a lot more and so on. So it was, as I said, it's that willingness to be open and provide trade secrets, is what I thought of it at the time.
Yeah.
I think that was super helpful.
Yeah. I mean, I think it sounds like a really sort of positive cycle, doesn't it, really, and sort of encouraging and stuff. And I think one of the reasons I wanted to do this series is because I think standout gets misunderstood. And there was something on LinkedIn the other day where it's like, oh, well, some accountants and bookkeepers just want to be that. They don't want to be aggressive and marketing, and they feel like if they're not doing all of that, then they're lazy and this, that, and the other. And I don't think that could be anything further from the truth. If you've got the right business model for you, if you're happy with your client base and all of that, and you don't do marketing, that's absolutely fine. Nobody should criticize, but it does sound to me like if you know what you're about and you have clients who click with you, and all of that good stuff, then you can create an even more positive business. But you don't have to.
You don't have to. I mean, before I started to do anything, we had a huge client base, bigger than it is now. And we had no trouble finding clients. We grew to thousands of clients just through word of mouth. And we barely even had a website. I just put something online just to have some kind of digital footprint. But with that also came working all the hours, not being honed in on who we want to work with, and not being as profitable and not as happy, if I'm honest, as we are now. Now we know we value ourselves first, which we didn't do. Um, but we are now also focused because of the marketing. As I said, it's brought in the kind of clients that we want to work with, which meant that we could refine our client base. And just in general, everything has been a lot happier within our business.
Yeah.
If it hadn't have been for the marketing and putting myself out there, maybe we would have got there at some point. Maybe we would have realized, or maybe not. I don't know. But I think that this has definitely made a huge business difference for us anyway.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about your story is that it's a family business, as you said before we went live. And, you know, it was your father who was at the front of everything, and that's why it's called Major's Accounts. And I'll leave you to tell the story. But then you've obviously come in and you've had a fair time of it to sort of turn the business into something that works for you. So, you know, that's a brand, but actually the strategy behind that name is the important bit, isn't it? So it stood for one thing and now it stands for something else. Do you want to tell us a bit about that? Because I think it's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, and I think there's been a huge kind of change and transition within our business. So I I did start with my dad, to be honest, when he started the practice, and it was just him at the time. I joined, but I was 13, so it was a weekend kind of job, right? But I got to see absolutely every stage of the business, what we went through as we grew and so on. So when I finally took over, because I did my ACCA and everything else, I took over officially in 2019, although I'd started to make changes about 2 years before that. But when I took over, and as I was kind of helping to build the business, there was one thing that I wanted to change, and that was not being tied to the desk 24/7 and being appreciated, because I could see we were doing such an amazing job. But because that became expected, there was no more kind of appreciation to what we were doing, and that's because we weren't valuing ourselves as much as we should have done. So when my dad was at the helm, as you say, it was very much focused on that family business, and we will help you with absolutely everything that you need, which we still do now. But now I think that our focus is we're a lot more specific. We are very tech driven, in order to allow us to have more conversations with clients. Whereas before, we were working like crazy just to get things done in terms of compliance. And the advisory we have always done, but it was just in between those conversations that we had on, hi, how are you doing? How's business? Have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? And it wasn't something that was ever kind of distinguished or separate from the compliance work, and as such wasn't appreciated. So my dad could be on phone calls. We'd go on holiday, he was on phone calls all day long, clients saying, hey, so I thought I want to do this, what do you think I should do? And that was expected as just part of a normal conversation. Whereas now I feel like we are so much more respected in what we do, because we do make that clear differentiation of, this is your compliance, now let's talk about business planning, what are you planning to do for the future. It's a lot more focused, so they understand that, okay, this is a different level of service, and that's with the adoption of tech to allow us that time to be able to do this. And I think a lot of people think when you add tech, it means that you're not doing anything anymore. It's not. You're getting some time back to do other things better.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what I am known for. Again, we are still family run, and we do still want to help out. I mean, I get people saying, Eriona, I need to get a divorce, what shall I do? So we still get all of that, even though it's got nothing to do with us, but we have that network around us to still help our clients in whatever they need. But it's a
Yeah.
lot more focused, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you said it was quite a journey for you. It's actually quite difficult to go from that A to, it wasn't really A to B, it was more like A to Z or Z, whatever, What was so difficult about it?
It was mindset change. I think that was the biggest kind of challenge that we had. It was mindset for my dad first, mindset for our team, because we're changing how we're working with clients, change in mindset for clients, how they want to work with us and how they see how we work with them. So I think that was the most difficult part, and it took me the best part of 3-4 years just to push through. I was literally forcing everything through because I had a vision in mind, and throughout all those difficult, it's like pushing that boulder up a mountain. That's what it felt like. But when we finally got there, and everything just clicked into place, because by that point we had lost some clients who weren't right for us, really, if we think about it. They either weren't paying us or didn't want the kind of service. I had some clients saying, "Why do you keep calling me? Leave me alone. I'll see you at the end of the year." You know? So there were those clients that we were wasting time on, and they didn't want that either. So it was right to part ways with them and have the right team who believe in our goal and our journey and what we wanted to achieve. And I think once we had really kind of we had a lean process with the right people in place, right clients. That's when everything started to change. And my dad also accepted the changes. And one day, it was during COVID, he was like, "Let me just see what you're doing here." And I had all these systems in place, our team working from everywhere. And at the end of it, he shook my hand and said, "I officially give up. You carry on. I'm not going to stand in your way. I didn't understand half of what you've just done, but you've just done it to an amazing quality. I see the end product." So I think that was a breakthrough moment, which then helped everything else. But that it was a super difficult journey, but something that I value a lot, because I feel like I'm ready for any kind of journey, to be honest now. Because it's different when you change a business that is successful, has established processes, is profitable at the end of the day, to a completely different one. Whereas if you start from scratch, it has its own difficulties, but at least you put in the processes that you want along the way. This is changing everything with everyone's mindset. It makes it so much more difficult.
Yeah, and it does sound very painful, and I'm sure it was, and I think strategy sometimes can be, but throughout this we've talked about having clients who click with you, and obviously that means they're the right mindset and that they do want to be contacted more than once a year, and they probably do want to talk about business and maybe even property if that's the sort of people you're bringing in. But equally, it gives you more time to do other things. So you've talked about all of those business interests, but also, I guess, about your marketing and about your speaker gigs. So actually, it's a virtuous cycle, isn't it? Really.
Absolutely. And I think even with the speaking, so I put a post on LinkedIn about this recently. Someone said to me "Oh, how are you so confident to get up and speak in front of people?" When I first started, I had to work myself up just to have a 30-second announcement to give to my team in the office. That would take me 2 hours. I'd be like, "Okay, I've got this. I've just got to stand up, just say something, sit back down, we're done." To now speaking in front of up to 1,000 people or wherever, I'm comfortable with it because it's something that you practice. And I think a lot of accountants do find that difficult. And I know it was super difficult, but it's just in putting yourself in the deep end, say yes. And it's something that you learn over time. Each time you get better, and you build up that confidence.
Yeah, in many ways, if you know what you're all about and you've gone through the process and you've come out and your vision is really clear, it's more easy to stand up in front of people because you know that whatever anybody asks you, you've got the answer.
Yeah.
And so you've been through the pain, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that everyone has something valuable to say, honestly, and I think it will make a difference to somebody, even one person. But yeah, hopefully I am.
Yeah, for me, what's coming out really clearly is that you've done the work and you know what you're about, and that does allow you to be yourself and to stand out for what you do. And so there's a bit, there's quite a few sort of bits and pieces there, but I think that's what it's all really kind of about, isn't it? So moving forward, for those people who are listening today and who maybe feel like they're not as sorted or not as well known or they don't stand out as much as you, where do you think where's the accounting space going, and what advice could you give to anybody?
I think, honestly, I think with the accounting industry or just being online, there's so much noise. You need to stand out and have your own kind of persona and show who you really are. Be yourself to stand out for potential clients as well. The thing is, nowadays people are not asking their friends for advice or recommendations, right? There's a lot of I'll ask Google. And if you don't have that presence there and create your own style, it will be very easy to get lost amongst everybody. I think for future kind of growth and getting more clients, it is needed. And we all started somewhere. You don't have to be, as you say, the loudest, or I'm not the loudest. I don't think I'm loud. I just put myself out there and give my views, whether someone likes it or not. Some people may not agree. I'm like, cool. That's why this world is different. We're all different, but that's what you need to show, what you're about and how you're different to stand out.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, in many ways, it is about you, it's about your background, it's about mindset and all of that good stuff. And I guess to a certain extent, that's where I come in, because it's not always that easy to sort of see what makes you slightly different than some other people. I mean, as you've said, there are natural people out there, and you spoke, James or whoever it is, there are natural communicators and people who naturally just get it. But there are a lot of, accountants and bookkeepers who don't, and that's okay. But this message really is that it doesn't have to be rocket science, but it is important, because as you've said, you need to have a structure in your mind for where your business is going. You need to be working with people who click with you, and word of mouth is great. But as you said, you suffered with word of mouth when you sort of first had Majors accounts, because everybody was coming wanting all kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas now we are very specific on who we work with, and that's a direct result of the marketing that we've put out there. Letting people know what interests us and who we want to work with, rather than just take on anybody.
Yeah, and how does that kind of conversation work then, when whether it's on an email or phone, or because I guess one of the things I always talk about is the first question you don't want to be asked is price, because that's a massive red light flashing, isn't it? Because then they don't really understand who you are and what you offer. So
yeah, I mean, within the conversations we have with clients, anyone who comes in, we are very clear in who we are, what we do. And one thing that we've started to do is let clients know that this is how we work, this is what we will do, this is what is expected of you. If you don't meet this and you're not able to work with us in this way, we will assess it over a 3-month period. If we see that actually we're not doing what we both agreed, which is not helping each other, then we're better off parting ways here and you find somebody else. Just that mindset and that change, and then with is making people think, well, why would they turn away business? Which then automatically price is not so much an issue, because we're confident in what we do. So if somebody says, well, I don't agree, I think this is too expensive, we'll say that's true. There's, even in the hospitality industry, you'll have a gourmet restaurant, you will have McDonald's, you will have something else. It depends where you want to be in that spectrum and what kind of service that you want. If you want something for a much cheaper price, then you need to find somebody who provides that service. So, and which we're okay with. If we're not the right people for you, that's absolutely fine. But more often than not, when you say this to people, they are actually on board with it. I think it's creating that analogy with something else that they can resonate with to your own situation. It makes them think and click. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess when you put it that way, that makes sense. And that weeds out kind of who should be working with you and who shouldn't. So I think it's just having that confidence.
yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, again, just knowing what you're about means that you can have those conversations and choose what you want and have that confidence. I think is really, really important. It's been great talking to you. Thank you kind of so much for your time. Do you have any last thoughts on standout advice for those people who are, imagine you're on the stage now rather than James, and you've got people there, people listening now. What would you say to them?
I would say definitely put yourself out there. You need to start somewhere. What you have to say is not right or wrong. That's your version, so no one can tell you whether it's right or wrong. I think when you realize that, it's a huge kind of mindset shift. And just be confident. You are running a business as well, and be confident with what you're providing and happy that your service is right for what you want to provide. It's not going to be right for everyone, but for those clients you want, it will be perfect. So just be confident in what you do.
Brilliant. So if this resonates with people and they think they're going to click with you, how can they find you?
I am on all socials, so LinkedIn, I'm quite active on there under my name, Eriona Bajrakurtay. I am on Instagram as well, Eriona _Bajrakurtay, and our website, majorsaccounts.com. And most social media platforms, to be honest, but I would love to help any other accountant who kind of is on this journey or needs any advice. I'm here because I've been there, done that.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, thanks again. Thank you very much. Next week we will have James Ashford, so I hope, Eriona, you will be there in the background clapping. But in the meantime, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time, and I'm sure people listening will as well. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye.